Hi everyone, here's what's bothering me today. There's this notion in America that guns keep you safe from tyranny, oppression, fascism, a brutal regime. This is the idea, right? And I've even seen, and I'm sure some of you have also seen, some memes online, using the Holocaust as a terrible example of, see, they gave up their right to bear arms and look what happened to the poor fools. They always seem to put, they being the gun crowd, they always seem to put this imaginary idea that other people had gun rights in historical instances. Oh, well, if people just had weapons, then the Jews wouldn't have died so much in World War II. The Rwandan genocide could have been avoided. This is a gross oversimplification, and it's also a very troubling narrative, and I'm very much tired of it. Now, for starters, just in America, guns are not what keep you safe. Because if that were the case, all communities, including the richest ones, would just have 24/7 armed security everywhere. And there would be cops on every street corner in the nicest communities. But you notice how that's not the case, right? There's this notion, let's call it, that guns protect you from tyranny. And if that's the case, then why are so many militiamen siding with the cops? The literal brutalizing arm of the state. Maybe a lot of Americans have forgotten, but very shortly after the U.S. Revolution, there was the Whiskey Rebellion, where, guess what? Good old George Washington and the other founding fathers needed money, and they levied a tax on whiskey. Self-declared patriots took up arms against the founding fathers and engaged in what became known as the Whiskey Rebellion. Long story short, it's a failure, and the power of the state is furthermore secured. So if guns keep everyone safe and ensure liberty, then why were the founding fathers themselves not, I don't know, shot up, kicked out, and replaced by another separate group of people? If this is the case of guns make you safer, then why was everyone so mad about the Black Panthers just absolutely exercising their right to bear arms? I am so tired of this idea that guns keep you safe and protect you from tyranny when Americans openly cooperate with police in intimidating and brutalizing protesters calling for better treatment of their fellow man. You are not on the side of liberty. You are literally co-opting state authority and authoritarianism. You are not a patriot. At least, not a real patriot. Not the way the founding fathers or those in the Whiskey Rebellion would have thought as a patriot. And with the notion of guns keep you safe, then why do you feel so afraid that you feel the need to carry one? And there's definitely those right now saying, oh, well, I could be a good guy with a gun. And I will admit, there are a handful of anecdotal stories of a good guy with a gun. There's also just as many, if not more, of a good guy with a gun, especially if he's black, being shot by police when trying to help out in a situation. I can't remember his name right now, but there was a black U.S. former Marine, and someone was shooting up a mall, and this Marine, who had a carrying permit, he wished to try and, stop this shooter before he caused any more damage. The police saw an armed black man, and they shot and killed him. I am so tired of this narrative that guns keep you safe when people with guns seem to co-opt a fascist authority system. And people thinking that, guns will keep you safe, but if the left or minorities arm themselves, well, then we have a double standard going on. Guns are only seen as a right in the American Constitution. And before anyone starts telling me about Switzerland, guns are not a right so much as a responsibility. It is every Swiss national's responsibility to be familiar with a firearm for the provided defense of the nation if they have to be called to arms. It's a responsibility, it's not a right. That is a uniquely American thing. And I'm going to be talking about guns a bit more this week. But I just really wanted to address this notion of guns somehow keeping you safe. And yet, whenever there are people with guns defending themselves, especially if they're black, suddenly they become thugs, or it's a crime hotspot. Or in the historical case of the Black Panthers, well, that's just not acceptable. We need some real gun control measures now. In the case of the Whiskey Rebellion, self-styled patriots rose up again against, taxation without representation against the literal founding fathers, and they ultimately lost. There is definitely something to be said for the right to bear arms, but it is also a double-edged sword, and it is not some magical band-aid that can fix all problems, whether it's self-defense, policing, or standing against tyranny, especially when some of you self-described patriots are entirely behind incredibly authoritarian and borderline fascist people. That doesn't make you a patriot, it makes you a power tripper. And the fact that there are many people out there who don't recognize this is what's bothering me today.